Maya Johnson walked through the glass doors of Sterling Tech Corporation at exactly 8:30 a.m., just like she had every morning for the past 3 months. The receptionist, Jenny, gave her a warm smile and waved. Maya smiled back, adjusting her simple black blazer as she made her way to the elevator. The elevator was crowded with the usual morning rush. Maya squeezed in, finding herself pressed against the back wall. She could hear whispered conversations about quarterly reports and weekend plans. Nobody paid her much attention, which was exactly how she preferred it. "Floor 15, please," she said softly to the person near the buttons. A man in an expensive suit glanced at her with surprise. "15? That's the executive floor? Are you sure you have the right floor?" Maya nodded politely. "Yes." "I'm sure." The man shrugged and pressed the button, but she could feel several pairs of eyes studying her. Maya had grown used to these looks over the years. As a young black woman, she often found herself questioned in professional spaces, even when she belonged there more than anyone else in the room. The elevator stopped at the 10th floor, and most people got out. Maya found herself alone with just 2 other passengers for the remaining ride. When the doors opened at 15, she stepped out into the polished marble hallway that led to the executive offices. "Maya," called out Patricia, the executive assistant. "Perfect timing. Your husband is in back-to-back meetings all morning, but he wanted me to give you this." She handed Maya a small gift box with a note attached. Maya opened the note and smiled. "Happy 3-year anniversary to the love of my life. Sorry I had to leave early for meetings. Dinner tonight at our favorite place. David." Inside the box was a delicate silver bracelet with a small charm shaped like a laptop computer, a sweet reference to how they had met in a coffee shop when her laptop crashed and he had helped fix it. "He's such a romantic," Patricia said with a grin. "Are you heading down to the cafeteria? I heard they have those blueberry muffins you like today." "Actually, I think I'll work from the innovation lab today," Maya said. "I want to check on the new project team." Maya took the elevator down to the 8th floor, where the company's innovation lab was located. This floor had a completely different energy from the executive level. Young employees in casual clothes worked at standing desks. Whiteboards covered in colorful diagrams filled the walls, and the sound of keyboards clicking mixed with animated discussions about coding problems. She loved spending time here. It reminded her of her own days as a software engineer before life had taken her in different directions. Many of the employees on this floor had no idea who she was, which allowed her to observe how the company really functioned when the bosses weren't around. Maya settled into a quiet corner workspace and opened her laptop. She had been working on a proposal for employee wellness programs, something close to her heart. She believed that taking care of employees was the key to building a successful company. Around noon, she decided to take a break and grab lunch from the cafeteria. The 8th floor had its own small break room, but Maya enjoyed the energy of the main cafeteria on the 3rd floor, where employees from all departments mixed together. She took the elevator down, her mind still focused on the wellness proposal. The cafeteria was buzzing with the lunch crowd. Maya grabbed a turkey sandwich and a bottle of Coke, then looked around for an empty table. Most tables were full, but she spotted one near the windows with just one person sitting at it. A young white woman who looked to be in her mid-20s, typing furiously on her phone while eating a salad. "Excuse me," Maya said politely, approaching the table. "Would you mind if I sit here? Everywhere else seems to be full." The woman looked up, and Maya immediately noticed her expression change. Her friendly demeanor shifted to something colder, more guarded. "Actually, I'm expecting someone," the woman said curtly, not making eye contact. Maya glanced around the busy cafeteria. There really weren't any other options. "I don't mind sharing. I'll be quiet." "I said I'm expecting someone," the woman repeated, her voice louder now. "There are plenty of other places you could sit." Maya felt a familiar knot forming in her stomach. She had experienced this kind of treatment before, but it never got easier. I looked around, and this really seems to be the only available spot. I promise I won't bother you. The woman, whose name tag read Brittany Marketing Coordinator, stood up abruptly. Her face was flushed with anger now. Look, I don't know who you think you are, but you can't just demand to sit wherever you want. This is a professional workplace, not some community center. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She could feel other people in the cafeteria starting to stare. Conversations at nearby tables had gotten quieter as people turned to watch the confrontation. I'm not demanding anything, Maya said, keeping her voice calm despite her racing heart. I just asked politely if I could share the table. Well, the answer is no, Brittany snapped. And maybe if you dressed more professionally, people would take you seriously around here. This isn't the place for people like you to just wander in and act like you own the place. Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment and anger. She was dressed professionally. Her black blazer and slacks were appropriate for any office, but she knew that wasn't really what Brittany was talking about. People like me? Maya asked quietly. Brittany seemed to realize that more people were watching now, but instead of backing down, she doubled down on her hostility. You know exactly what I mean. This is a high-level tech company. We have standards here. Maya took a deep breath, trying to maintain her composure. 3 years of being married to David had taught her a lot about handling difficult situations with grace. He always said that responding with dignity was more powerful than responding with anger. I understand you're upset, Maya said calmly, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. I work here too, and I was just looking for a place to eat my lunch. Work here? Brittany laughed mockingly. Doing what? Cleaning? Security? Because I've never seen you in any of our department meetings. The cafeteria had grown noticeably quieter now. Maya could feel dozens of eyes on them. She saw some people pulling out their phones, probably recording the interaction. In today's world, workplace conflicts had a way of going viral quickly. Maya set her lunch tray down on a nearby empty chair, trying to give herself a moment to think. She could simply walk away and eat in her car or go back upstairs to the executive dining room. But something inside her rebelled against the idea of being driven away by Brittany's prejudice. I think you should be careful about making assumptions, Maya said, her voice still calm but with a slight edge to it now. You might be surprised by what you don't know. Brittany's eyes narrowed. Oh, I'm making assumptions. You're the one who came over here acting entitled, expecting me to just give up my table? Well, here's what I think about your entitlement. Before Maya could react, Brittany grabbed her can of Coke from her lunch tray and hurled the contents directly at Maya's face and chest. The cold liquid hit Maya with shocking force, soaking through her blazer and dripping down her face. The cafeteria erupted in gasps and shocked exclamations. Maya stood there for a moment, stunned, dark cola dripping from her hair and clothes. Brittany looked equally shocked by her own action, as if she couldn't believe she had actually done it, but instead of apologizing, she seemed to get even angrier. Maybe next time you'll think twice before bothering people who actually belong here, she said, though her voice shook slightly. Maya wiped Coke from her eyes, her hands trembling with a mixture of shock and rage. The entire cafeteria was silent now, except for the sound of her drink dripping onto the floor. She could see people holding up phones, recording everything. You're going to regret this, Maya said quietly, her voice carrying a conviction that made several nearby employees shift uncomfortably. Brittany crossed her arms defensively. Are you threatening me? Because I can call security right now and have you escorted out of this building? Maya almost smiled at the irony of that statement, but she was too angry and too humiliated to find anything funny. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out a small packet of tissues, trying to clean the worst of the Coke from her face. No threats, Maya said, still wiping her face. Just a prediction. She picked up her phone from where she had set it on the chair and quickly typed a text message. Then she looked back at Brittany, who was still standing there with her arms crossed, though Maya could see uncertainty creeping into her expression. "I'm going to go get cleaned up," Maya announced to the still silent cafeteria. "But I'll be back." As she walked toward the exit, every person in the cafeteria watched her go. She could hear whispered conversations starting up behind her, people speculating about what had just happened and what might happen next. Maya made her way to the women's restroom on the 3rd floor, where she tried to clean herself up as best she could. Her blazer was soaked and stained, and her white shirt underneath wasn't much better. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw her reflection, a successful, educated woman who had just been humiliated in front of dozens of her husband's employees. The irony wasn't lost on her. Just that morning, David had given her an anniversary gift, and now she was standing in his company's bathroom, dripping with coke that had been thrown at her by one of his employees. She pulled out her phone and looked at the text message she had sent a few minutes earlier. It was simple and to the point. "We need to talk. Something happened at your office. Maya." Within seconds, her phone buzzed with a response from David. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" Maya typed back, "I'm fine, but you might want to check the company message boards in about an hour. And maybe have security pull the cafeteria footage from today's lunch hour." She could imagine David's confusion at that cryptic message, but she wasn't ready to explain everything over text. This was a conversation they needed to have in person. Maya looked at herself in the mirror one more time, squared her shoulders, and made a decision. She wasn't going to hide in the bathroom or sneak out of the building. She was going to walk back through that cafeteria with her head held high. But first, she had a phone call to make. She dialed the number for Patricia, David's executive assistant. "Patricia, it's Maya. I need you to do me a favor. Can you clear David's calendar for the rest of the afternoon? Tell him it's urgent and that I'll explain when I see him." "Of course," Patricia said, concern evident in her voice. "Is everything all right?" "It will be," Maya said with determination. "It definitely will be." Maya walked back into the cafeteria 15 minutes later, still wearing her stained blazer but with her head held high. The room had returned to its normal lunch buzz, but she noticed that many people's conversations stopped when they saw her return. Brittany was still sitting at the same table, though now she was surrounded by 3 other marketing employees who seemed to be listening intently to her version of events. Maya could hear fragments of Brittany's animated retelling as she approached. "Completely inappropriate. Demanded my table. He probably doesn't even work here. Had to put her in her place." Maya walked directly to their table and stopped. The 4 marketing employees looked up at her with varying expressions of surprise, curiosity, and in Brittany's case, defiant anger. "I wanted to thank you," Maya said to Brittany, her voice calm and clear enough for nearby tables to hear. Brittany blinked in confusion. "Thank me? For what?" "For showing me exactly the kind of workplace culture that exists in some departments here," Maya replied. "It's been very educational." One of Brittany's companions, a young man with thick glasses, shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should all just move on from whatever happened earlier." "Oh, no," Maya said with a slight smile. "I don't think we're moving on from this at all. In fact, I think this conversation is just getting started." Brittany stood up again, her face flushing red. "Listen, I don't know what your problem is, but you need to leave us alone. I've already reported this incident to HR." "Have you?" Maya asked, raising an eyebrow. "That's interesting. What exactly did you tell them?" "I told them that some random woman came in here, harassed me during my lunch break, and then threatened me when I asked her to leave me alone." Maya nodded thoughtfully. "I see. And did you mention the part where you threw a drink at me?" The table went silent. Maya could see recognition dawning in the faces of Brittany's companions as they realized they were only hearing one side of the story. That was an accident," Brittany stammered, though her voice lacked conviction. An accident? Maya asked. So you accidentally picked up a can of Coke, accidentally aimed it at my face, and accidentally threw the contents all over me while saying I don't belong here? The young man with glasses cleared his throat. Brittany, maybe you didn't tell us the whole story. Shut up, Marcus, Brittany snapped. I don't have to explain anything to any of you. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled to her messages. You know what's funny about working in a tech company? Everyone here is pretty connected. In the 15 minutes since this happened, I've received 7 text messages from people who either witnessed what happened or saw the videos that are already circulating on social media. Brittany's face went pale. Videos? Oh yes, Maya said, turning her phone screen so they could see the message notifications. Turns out throwing drinks at people in a crowded cafeteria tends to get recorded. Who would have thought? Maya could see Brittany's confidence cracking. The other marketing employees were exchanging worried glances, clearly realizing they had been sitting with someone who might have just committed career suicide. Look, Brittany said, her voice less aggressive now. Maybe things got a little heated. But you were being rude, and I was just defending myself. Defending yourself, Maya repeated. From what exactly? My polite request to share a table? Marcus, the young man with glasses, stood up abruptly. I think I need to get back to work, he said, avoiding eye contact with everyone at the table. The other 2 marketing employees quickly followed suit, leaving Brittany sitting alone. Maya noticed that other people in the cafeteria were now openly staring at their conversation. You want to know what I think happened here? Maya said, sitting down across from Brittany. I think you saw a young black woman and made immediate assumptions about who I was and whether I belonged here. And when I didn't back down the way you expected, you got angry and acted out. Brittany's mouth opened and closed several times before she managed to speak. I'm not racist. I have black friends. Maya almost laughed at the cliché response. I'm sure you do, but having black friends doesn't mean you can't have unconscious biases. The question is, what are you going to do about it now? What do you mean? I mean you have a choice to make, Maya said, leaning forward. You can double down on this behavior, or you can use this as a learning experience, because I can promise you, this incident isn't going away quietly. Brittany's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it and her face went even paler. My manager wants to see me immediately, she said in a small voice. I imagine she does, Maya said. Word travels fast in companies like this, especially when there's video evidence. What? What do you think is going to happen to me? Brittany asked. And for the first time, she sounded genuinely scared rather than angry. Maya studied her for a moment. Despite everything that had happened, she felt a strange mix of anger and sympathy for this young woman who had clearly never been taught how to examine her own prejudices. I think that depends on how you handle the next few hours, Maya said honestly. This company has very strict policies about harassment and discrimination. But they also believe in second chances for people who are genuinely willing to learn and grow. Are you going to press charges? Brittany asked quietly. Maya shook her head. No, but I am going to make sure this becomes a teachable moment for everyone involved. Brittany's phone buzzed again. This time the message was visible on the screen. Please come to HR immediately. Bring a witness if possible. I have to go, Brittany said, standing up on shaky legs. Yes, you do, Maya agreed. And Brittany? When they ask you what happened, I strongly suggest you tell them the complete truth, because they're going to see the video footage anyway. After Brittany left, Maya sat alone at the table for a few minutes, collecting her thoughts. She could feel people still watching her, but the attention felt different now. Instead of the shocked stares from earlier, she was getting nods of respect and even a few quiet words of support from passing employees. Her phone rang. David. Maya, what's going on? Patricia said you needed me to clear my schedule, and I just got 3 different messages from department heads saying there's some kind of situation in the cafeteria. Are you hurt? I'm fine, Maya said. But we do need to talk. Can you meet me in your office in 10 minutes? Of course. Should I be worried? Maya looked down at her stained blazer and smiled grimly. Well, you're about to learn something very interesting about the culture in your marketing department. 20 minutes later, Maya was sitting in the CEO's office on the 15th floor, having just finished recounting the entire incident to her husband. David had listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. She threw a drink at you, he said finally, his voice carefully controlled. One of my employees assaulted my wife in my own cafeteria. Technically, it wasn't assault, Maya said, though she appreciated his protective anger. But it was definitely harassment and discrimination. David was already pulling up security footage on his computer. I need to see this for myself. They watched the video together in silence. The audio wasn't perfect, but the visual was clear enough. They could see Maya's polite approach, Brittany's increasingly aggressive body language, and then the moment when she threw the Coke. David's jaw tightened as he watched his wife get drenched. I'm going to fire her, he said immediately. Today. Right now. Wait, Maya said, putting a hand on his arm. Before you make any decisions, there's something else we need to discuss. What do you mean? Maya took a deep breath. This isn't just about one badly behaved employee, David. This is about the fact that I've been coming to this building for 3 months and almost no one knows who I am. Your own employees don't recognize the CEO's wife. David looked confused. You said you preferred to keep a low profile. You never wanted to do company events or have your photo in the newsletter. I know, and I still don't want that, Maya said. But what happened today made me realize that my anonymity might be contributing to some problems I hadn't considered. Such as the fact that your employees feel comfortable treating black women like they don't belong here, Maya said bluntly. Brittany didn't just disrespect me personally. She made assumptions about my education, my profession, my right to be in this building based entirely on my appearance. David was quiet for a moment, processing this. You think this is a systemic problem, not just one ignorant employee. I think you need to find out, Maya said, and I think this incident gives you the perfect opportunity to do that. What do you have in mind? Maya smiled for the first time since the incident. Well, I was thinking it might be time for the CEO's wife to make her debut at Sterling Tech Corporation, but not in the way people might expect. David raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. What if instead of just firing Brittany, we used this as a company-wide teachable moment? We could implement proper diversity and inclusion training, review hiring and promotion practices, maybe even start an employee resource group for underrepresented employees. And Brittany gets a choice, Maya said. She can be part of the solution or she can find somewhere else to work. But either way, Sterling Tech is going to become the kind of place where what happened today could never happen again. David leaned back in his chair, studying his wife with obvious admiration. You know, most people who had a drink thrown at them would just want revenge. I don't want revenge, Maya said. I want change, and I want to make sure that the next young black professional who walks into this building gets the respect they deserve from day one. All right, David said, reaching for his phone. Let's do this. But first, I need to have a very serious conversation with HR and the marketing director, and Brittany needs to understand exactly what she's done. As David began making calls, Maya looked out the window at the city below. 3 hours ago, she had been anonymously working on wellness proposals in the innovation lab. Now she was about to step into a very public role as an advocate for change. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. I saw what happened today. Thank you for standing up for yourself. It gave me courage to report something similar that happened to me last week. A fellow Sterling Tech employee. Maya smiled as she typed back, Thank you for sharing that. You're not alone, and things are about to get better around here." She looked over at David, who was deep in conversation with the head of HR, his voice stern and professional. In a few hours, everyone at Sterling Tech Corporation would know exactly who Maya Johnson was. But more importantly, they would understand what the company expected from them in terms of respect, inclusion, and basic human decency. The real work was just beginning. The all-hands meeting was called for 4 p.m. that same day. Every employee at Sterling Tech Corporation received an email marked mandatory attendance with the subject line, "Important Company Announcement, Workplace Culture and Values." Maya stood in the back of the large conference room, watching employees file in with curious and worried expressions. She had changed into a fresh outfit, a sharp navy blue dress that made her look every inch the executive she was. Word had already begun to spread through the building about the cafeteria incident, and she could see clusters of employees whispering as they took their seats. Brittany entered the room looking pale and shaken. Maya noticed that she sat alone, while her former lunch companions pointedly chose seats at the opposite side of the room. The young woman's eyes found Maya's across the crowded space, and Maya could see a complex mixture of fear, shame, and something that might have been regret. David stepped up to the microphone at the front of the room, his expression serious. The room gradually fell silent as 300 employees turned their attention to their CEO. "Thank you all for coming," David began. "I know this was short notice, but something happened today that requires immediate attention from our entire organization." Maya watched faces in the crowd. Some people looked confused, others worried, and a few, particularly those who had been in the cafeteria, looked like they knew exactly what this was about. "This morning, our company's values of respect, inclusion, and professionalism were violated in a very public way," David continued. "A member of our team was subjected to harassment, discrimination, and ultimately physical assault by another employee." Murmurs rippled through the room. Maya could see people pulling out their phones, probably checking the videos that had been circulating all day. "Rather than handle this quietly, the victim of this harassment has asked that we use this incident as an opportunity for our entire organization to learn and grow," David said. "She believes that Sterling Tech can be better, and she's willing to help us get there." David's eyes found Maya's across the room. "I'd like everyone to meet Maya Johnson. Many of you don't know her, which is part of the problem we're going to address today. Maya is a software engineer, an advocate for employee wellness, and a leader in diversity and inclusion initiatives." The room was completely silent now. Maya could feel hundreds of eyes on her as David continued. "Maya is also my wife." The silence that followed was deafening. Maya could see understanding dawning on faces throughout the room as people realized what had happened. The whispers started immediately, and she heard someone near the back gasp audibly. "This morning, while trying to eat lunch in our cafeteria, Maya was told she didn't belong here, questioned about her professionalism based on her appearance, and ultimately had a drink thrown at her by an employee who assumed she was some kind of intruder," David said, his voice carrying barely controlled anger. Maya stepped forward, and David handed her the microphone. She looked out at the sea of faces, many of which were now showing shock and embarrassment. "I want to be clear about something," Maya began, her voice steady and strong. "What happened to me today wasn't just about one person's bad behavior. It was about unconscious bias, about assumptions we make based on appearance, and about the culture that allows those assumptions to go unchecked." She could see Brittany in the crowd, tears streaming down her face as she hunched down in her seat. "For 3 months I've been coming to this building regularly," Maya continued. "I've worked in the innovation lab, attended meetings, and eaten in the cafeteria dozens of times. The fact that so few of you know who I am isn't anyone's fault. I chose to keep a low profile. But what is our collective responsibility is creating an environment where every person who walks through these doors is treated with basic respect, regardless of whether you know their title or their relationship to the CEO. Maya looked directly at Brittany. The employee who harassed me today is young. She's probably never had anyone teach her to examine her own biases or question her assumptions about who belongs in professional spaces. That's not entirely her fault, but it is her responsibility to learn and grow from this experience. She turned back to address the room. Sterling Tech is going to implement comprehensive diversity and inclusion training for every employee starting next week. We're going to review our hiring practices, our promotion processes, and our workplace culture policies. We're going to create employee resource groups that provide support and advocacy for underrepresented team members. An employee near the front raised her hand tentatively. Maya nodded for her to speak. "What about consequences for what happened today?" the woman asked. Maya and David exchanged glances. They had spent the last 2 hours discussing this exact question. "Brittany Martinez from the marketing department has been suspended pending a full HR investigation," David said, resuming control of the microphone. "However, Maya and I have agreed on an alternative approach to traditional disciplinary action." Maya stepped forward again. "Brittany has a choice. She can participate in intensive bias training, work with a mentor from our new diversity committee, and become an active part of our cultural change initiative. If she does this successfully, she can keep her job and help prevent similar incidents in the future." "And if she chooses not to participate?" asked a voice from the back. "Then her employment will be terminated," David said simply. "We're offering a path to redemption, but we're not compromising on our values." Maya could see Brittany nodding through her tears, clearly understanding the gravity of the choice she was being offered. An older man in the middle section stood up. "Mrs. Johnson, what can the rest of us do to make sure something like this never happens again?" Maya smiled at the question. "First, don't call me Mrs. Johnson. Call me Maya. Second, examine your own assumptions. When you see someone you don't recognize, approach them with curiosity rather than suspicion. When you hear discriminatory comments, speak up. When you see exclusionary behavior, address it." She paused, looking around the room. "And most importantly, remember that diversity isn't about being politically correct or checking boxes. It's about recognizing that our differences make us stronger, more creative, and more successful as an organization." A young black man in the front row raised his hand. "Maya, will you be taking on an official role with the company's diversity initiatives?" Maya looked at David, who nodded encouragingly. "Yes, I will. Starting next week, I'll be working as Sterling Tech's Director of Inclusion and Employee Experience. It's a new position, and we'll be building the program from the ground up." The room erupted in applause. Maya could see relief and excitement on many faces, and she noticed several employees of color wiping away tears. After the meeting ended, Maya found herself surrounded by employees who wanted to thank her, share their own experiences, or volunteer for the new diversity initiatives. The response was overwhelming and heartening. She noticed Brittany hovering at the edge of the group, clearly wanting to approach but uncertain if she would be welcome. Maya excused herself from the others and walked over to the young woman. "Brittany," Maya said gently, "how are you holding up?" Brittany looked up with red, swollen eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I don't even know how to begin to apologize for what I did. I was horrible to you, and I can't believe I threw that drink. I've never done anything like that before." Maya studied her for a moment. The anger and defiance from earlier were completely gone, replaced by genuine remorse and shame. "I believe that you're sorry," Maya said, "and I believe that you've never done anything like this before. But I need you to understand something. Sorry isn't enough. You need to figure out why you reacted the way you did, and you need to do the work to make sure it never happens again." Brittany nodded frantically. I want to do the training. I want to be part of fixing this. I know I messed up terribly, but please give me a chance to make it right. The training isn't going to be easy, Maya warned. You're going to have to confront some uncomfortable truths about bias and privilege. You're going to have to listen to experiences that might be difficult to hear. And you're going to have to commit to being an ally, even when it's uncomfortable. I understand, Brittany said. And I want to do it. Not just to save my job, but because I never want to hurt someone the way I hurt you today. Maya felt a spark of hope. All right, then. Report to HR tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Your mentor will be Dr. Sarah Williams from our legal department. She's a black woman who's been advocating for workplace equality for 20 years. She's going to challenge you, but she's also going to help you grow. Brittany's face showed a mixture of nervousness and determination. Thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it. We all deserve chances to learn and grow, Maya said. What matters is what you do with the opportunity. As Brittany walked away, Maya felt David's arm slip around her shoulders. How does it feel to have gone from anonymous observer to company executive in one day? He asked, with a smile. Maya leaned into him, suddenly feeling the exhaustion of the emotional roller coaster she'd been on. Ask me in 6 months when we see if any of this actually worked. It's going to work, David said confidently. You know how I know? How? Because you're running it, and I've never seen you fail at anything you put your mind to. 3 months later, Maya stood in the same cafeteria where the incident had occurred, but everything was different. The walls now featured artwork from local artists of diverse backgrounds. Employee resource group meeting schedules were posted on bulletin boards, and the conversations happening at lunch tables reflected a workforce that was more engaged and inclusive than ever before. Brittany approached her table, the same table where everything had started. Maya, do you have a minute? Of course, Maya said, gesturing to an empty chair. How's the mentorship program going? Really well, Brittany said, sitting down. Dr. Williams is tough, but she's amazing. She's teaching me to see things I never noticed before. And I wanted to tell you, I'm starting a book club for employees who want to learn more about bias and inclusion. We already have 15 people signed up. Maya smiled. That's wonderful, Brittany. I'm proud of the work you've been doing. I also wanted to give you this, Brittany said, pulling out an envelope. It's a letter I wrote to you 3 months ago, right after everything happened. Dr. Williams suggested I hold on to it until I was ready to really mean every word. Maya opened the letter and read it quietly. It was a thoughtful, detailed apology that showed real understanding of the harm that had been done and a genuine commitment to change. Thank you, Maya said, folding the letter carefully. This means a lot. Maya, can I ask you something? Brittany said hesitantly. Sure. Why did you give me a second chance? You could have just had me fired and been done with it. Maya thought for a moment before answering. Because I believe that most people are capable of growth when they're given the right support and motivation. And because the goal isn't to punish people for their biases, it's to help them overcome those biases so they can be better. I'm grateful every day that you saw something in me worth saving, Brittany said softly. I didn't save you, Maya replied. You saved yourself by choosing to do the work. As Brittany left to return to her department, Maya looked around the transformed cafeteria. Employees of all backgrounds sat together, chatted comfortably, and treated each other with visible respect and warmth. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. Proud of you, love you, see you tonight for dinner. Maya smiled and typed back, Love you too. Thanks for believing in second chances. She gathered her lunch tray and headed back upstairs to her office, where she had meetings scheduled with 3 other companies who wanted to implement similar diversity and inclusion programs. Word had spread beyond Sterling Tech about their innovative approach to workplace culture change. As she waited for the elevator, Maya reflected on how much her life had changed in just 3 months. She had gone from being the anonymous CEO's wife to being a recognized leader in corporate diversity initiatives. More importantly, she had helped create an environment where incidents like the one she had experienced were not just less likely, they were actively prevented by a culture of inclusion and respect. The elevator doors opened and Maya stepped inside with several other employees. This time, instead of questioning her presence, they greeted her warmly and made room for her with genuine smiles. "Good afternoon, Maya," said Jake from the IT department. "How's the diversity training rollout going?" "Really well," Maya replied. "We're seeing measurable improvements in employee satisfaction and retention across all departments." "That's awesome," said Linda from accounting. "My team has been talking about how much more comfortable everyone feels speaking up in meetings now." As the elevator climbed toward the executive floor, Maya felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They had taken an incident of discrimination and harassment and turned it into an opportunity for real, lasting change. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. The doors opened at the 15th floor, and Maya stepped out into the hallway that led to her office. On her door, a nameplate read, "Maya Johnson, Director of Inclusion and Employee Experience." She paused for a moment to appreciate how far they had all come, then opened her door and got back to work. There were always more people to train, more policies to review, and more opportunities to make Sterling Tech Corporation a place where everyone could thrive regardless of their background. And it all started with one woman who refused to be driven away from a cafeteria table, and another woman who chose to grow from her worst moment instead of being defined by it. The transformation was complete, but the work would continue every day.